All right, hi everyone. I'm so glad to be here today and to see you all here coming to learn about gardening and all the health benefits to gardening. So I'm going to start off by asking you a question. Have you heard the saying, people who grow vegetables eat more vegetables? Honestly, I hadn't heard it too much, right? No. But it makes sense because when you have easy access to something, you're going to consume it. So this is why I don't keep cookies in my house, because I will eat a whole box by myself. So when you have easy access to something, it's easier to consume. Tamara says, me too. So in the end, though, we all need to eat more veggies. So in today's class, what we're going to talk about is healthy eating through gardening. And some of those topics that we'll cover are the grocery store versus the garden, benefits of gardening, and how to start your own garden. But before we jump into all that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Natasha Lax, and I have been gardening for a little over a decade now. And I love to teach others what I know and continue to learn. That is one of my great passions, is to teach. So naturally, I came to teach about gardening because I loved it so much and I see how it has benefited me and my family. And I want everybody else to garden too. Another thing about me is I am the lead consultant, designer, and educator at my company, 31 Eden. And what we are is an edible garden consulting business that teaches our clients how to garden. And so we don't only teach them how to garden, we also design their gardens for them, install it, and even plant it for them or with them, decide, depending on what they want. But the best part of it for me is that I walk with my clients through the entire season to make sure they're never overwhelmed, that they know exactly what's going on. So if they have a plant that is turning yellow or is flopping over, they know they can reach out to me and say, hey, Tasha, this is happening, what's going on? Or this bug is eating my plant, I'm scared of it, what do I do? I am here to help them, know exactly what to do. My goal is to make everyone that comes to me confident gardeners. So I'm working myself out of a job because that's how important it is to me. Okay, so let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the differences between grocery store produce and produce from the garden. And you can see how much of a difference it makes when you grow your own food. So the first topic we're going to talk about is distance. Our grocery stores generally get a lot of our produce from California or from other countries like Mexico. And while that's great in the fact that we get to have like a variety of foods that we wouldn't be able to grow stateside, it does have its downsides, which basically affects our health. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But in most cases, perishable foods that travel from long distances, even just from California, they're modified so that it doesn't spoil. So those modifications are chemicals that stop the ripening process so that they last longer. Some of the foods that we have should not last as long as they do. And one way that you'll know if your food has been modified, if you have a fruit or vegetable that should be bad and it wrinkles and shrivels rather than rots, it's been modified with chemicals. And so anything that's going to stop the natural process of food, we don't want to consume. Just putting that out there. Other vegetables and fruits are modified from seed, called GMOs, which is genetically modified organisms. And there's not much research on the impacts of our health regarding GMOs, but there is a lot of evidence about the very little nutritional value that it gives from harvest. So that is something that I try to stay away from. Our grocery stores don't label it just yet. There's lots of organizations fighting for grocery stores to label what foods are GMO, so then we as consumers know what we're consuming. But the good news is, if you have your own garden, then you don't have to worry about the distance. You just go out to your backyard, side yard, porch, wherever you have your garden growing to pick your food. And because you're growing it, you can choose to grow it organically, which is the way I like to grow it. The benefits of that is you don't have any of the pesticides that can affect you. You don't have to worry about the foods being treated because it has to travel. And then buying organic fruits and vegetables can be really expensive. Like to the point where some stuff that I do get from the grocery store, I may not get it organic just because of the price. But if you grow it in your yard, you don't have to worry about that. The next issue is the flavor. So the grocery store produce, because it has to travel such a long distance, it begins to lose its flavor every day. So every day between the time they harvest it, which is, when they pull it off the vine or take it out of the ground, the taste diminishes. So this is what I want you to do. Think about your favorite produce, your favorite fruit or vegetable. And if you don't eat vegetables, just imagine you like a vegetable, okay? Imagine Cheeto is a vegetable, whatever you like, okay? But let's try to think of a produce. Think about how it tastes and what you enjoy about it. Okay, y'all got that in your head? You got your, I'm a watermelon and apple girl. Now you enjoy the taste of it. Now imagine that fruit or vegetable tastes twice as good. Like you just got to tell somebody, girl, I just pulled this apple off of here. I just cut this watermelon off this vine. It's so juicy and crisp and whatever. That is what you're missing out on by getting your vegetables and fruits from the grocery store. But if you grow it from your own yard, that's what you get to experience every day. Every day. So the way I teach my clients to garden, I do something called a kitchen garden where we plant and raise garden beds, and the goal of a kitchen garden is to harvest every single day. And the beauty of us living in our environment in North Carolina is that we can garden all year round. Like right now, even though it's been cold, even through the snow, my garden is full of cabbage and collards, kale, lettuces, Brussels sprouts, all that stuff, because we're lucky enough to not freeze too much. So we're able to grow all year. But if you harvest from your garden, you get to benefit from all the wonderful flavor. The last part of this is the nutrition, which is the biggest part. So from the grocery store, you get diminished nutrition, and it's because it has to travel so far. So vegetables, they can lose between 15 and 55% of vitamin C within a week of being harvested. So like we're thinking we're getting oranges and we're getting all this vitamin C, when truly we're only getting between, what's the rest, 45 and less percent of the vitamin C. Some vegetables, such as like spinach, loses 90% within the first 24 hours. So I guarantee you that the spinach you're getting from the grocery store has no nutritional value. None. You can hang that up, okay? And then from spinach, 50% of all the other nutrients is depleted within a week. So you're really not getting anything. So if you think about this, it usually takes about a week for our foods to get to us, to the grocery store. And then it sits in the grocery store for like another 3 or 4 days until we go buy it. Then you go buy it, and what do? You go and store it in your fridge, depending on what it is, on the counter. So by the time you actually eat it, you're getting like 5 to 10% of nutrition from that fruit or vegetable. And so now you wonder why doctors are always telling us, take your vitamins, take your vitamins. What they're telling you is not because you don't eat enough vegetables. Even if you ate enough vegetables, you're not getting the nutrient value because of how far it's had to travel. So these fruits and vegetables, like, I'm tired, I'm not giving out no more. I'm done. And so we're not getting much from it. But again, the good thing is you can get the highest nutritional value if you grew your own food. It doesn't take any time. It doesn't take any time to travel. You go to your yard, take them tomatoes off the vine, throw them in your salad, make your sauce, whatever you're going to do with it. And you have the highest nutritional value. Yes, the value will decline day by day after you've harvested it. But if you grow a kitchen garden rather than a row garden, because row gardens are designed, you plant it all at one time, you harvest it all at one time. Then you got to figure out, how am I going to store all this? How do I preserve it or can it or dry it? All that stuff. But if you grow a kitchen garden where you can go harvest every day, you don't have to worry about storing your food, and you get the highest nutritional value. And I'm telling you now, once I started gardening enough to eat from it every day, I felt completely different because I was getting all those all the nutrients from it. So, garden. Get a garden. And it doesn't matter. I say to start small. Start with a small garden so then you get the hang of it, and then you can expand so then you don't overwhelm yourself. Okay? So next we're going to talk about the benefits of gardening. So those benefits impact your mental health, your physical health, and even your relationships. So first we're going to talk about mental health. So gardening can help your mental focus. It helps sharpen your mind and improves your memory at the same time. Because once you start gardening, you start learning different things, like what kind of fertilizer does my cabbage need, or my kale, or what did I plant here? When did I water? So it helps you to keep your mind going and processing. So it helps your mental focus. Gardening also helps you lower your stress, anxiety, and depression. So basically it can help you recuperate or bounce back from a stressful event. For me, I have dealt with anxiety, and being in the garden, I don't know, it just like calmed me just to be in it with nature and just to see the natural beauty. Like, I call plants a miracle in plant form. Because if you think about it, you put a seed in the soil and it grows into this amazing thing. Like, say for instance, squash. Squash seed is real small, but if you've ever seen a squash plant, that thing is ginormous. It can get like to 4 feet wide, about 3 feet tall. It's big. And to me, that's amazing. And then I get to eat it and enjoy it, and it tastes way better than the grocery store. I'm just going to plug that in there again. Grown food tastes better than grocery store food. It can also help protect your memory. So it improves the nerve growth factors in your brain. It can also help addicts in recovery. So the plants, they can provoke emotions and feelings in people who are recovering from addiction, and it can make it a great rehab tool for them. So a lot of the rehab clinics are now incorporating gardening into their programs. And then it can also provide a sense of purpose. It's a way to care for something, to nurture it, from seed to a plant. And sometimes this gives some people enough sense of purpose and pride when their plant starts to grow. The next benefit is relational. So it can boost self-esteem. As plants start to grow, your self-esteem will also grow and improve, because it feels great to accomplish a new task. And whenever you accomplish a new task or you're excited about something, it boosts your self-esteem. So it gives gardeners an endless opportunity to learn new skills. Like, I've been gardening for over 10 years and I'm still learning stuff, like all the time. It really amazes me. It can also help form connections. And this is especially true in like community gardens, where there's a group of people that come together to maintain and grow different foods. They can learn from each other. They can develop friendships. It happens all the time. So simple human connections and interactions is a great benefit of gardening. It can also provide family bonding. Like, I have 3 kids and we go out in the garden. It's one of those things where you're coming outside. You have no choice. This is your vegetable and this is what you're going to do. But they end up really liking it because you're outside, and once that sun hits your face and you're in the fresh air, attitudes change and they get excited. And and we get to spend that time together and talk about all the different things. And I like to relate a lot of gardening things to life. There's lots of parallels in the garden and life. And so I like to teach my kids everything I can about gardening in all the aspects. And then another benefit is teaching responsibility. So like I said, I tell my kids, this is your vegetable. You need to water it. You need to feed it. You need to pay attention to it. And they learn, like, they go outside to play. They go run by the garden bed real quick, check. Okay, it's good. Oh no, I need to water it. And my daughter says, Mommy, this plant looks sad. It needs water. Then give it water. That's your responsibility. So it's really beautiful to see how they're developing in it. And the last benefit is the physical. So when you're gardening, it's physical activity, whether you're hauling a bag of compost to cover, or adding new soil, or even just the bending or squatting, lifting stuff. It's just a great daily aerobic exercise. You may even get so into your project that you don't realize you've worked up a sweat, which happens, especially in our summers, okay? You also get a nice dose of vitamin D, which is otherwise only accessible through a supplement. You know, being outside in the sun gives us our vitamin D. If you are a person that likes to stay inside, you most likely have been prescribed vitamin D. Okay. Oh, excuse my typo on there. I'm just now saying it. And then if you have a garden, you'll eat healthier. And so like we said before, those who plant more veggies or plant veggies eat more veggies. Then I think what's awesome is it helps to lower blood pressure. So anyone who has blood pressure is at an increased risk of cardiovascular events. So one of the benefits is that it can drop your blood pressure without medicine because it naturally reduces your anxiety and stress levels, like we talked about earlier. And that has an amazing effect on blood pressure. So it also improves hand dexterity. So because you're holding garden tools, I don't use a whole lot of tools. I like to get my hands dirty, but there are some tools that I have to use, and it helps with people who are aging or even people who deal with arthritis. And that is something that I have actually dealt with. I was diagnosed with arthritis in my hands quite a few years ago. And with all the movement and the gripping, you know, it strengthens the hands. And so I can say that my hands are not as strong as they could be, but they're definitely stronger than they used to be. So it's very good for that. And then it also just builds strength because you have to lift some things, like I said, bags of compost or soil. So, you know, you get some muscles too. Okay. You don't have to worry about going to the gym. Well, you might still have to go to the gym, but you're going to get some kind of aerobic exercise. Okay. So now that we've talked about grocery store versus the garden and the benefits of gardening, now we're going to talk about how to start a garden. I can't give you all this information and then not tell you how to start one. I feel like that's not fair. So the first step, and this is how I walk some of my clients through. The first step is to find the right location for your garden. And what I suggest is to find the sunniest part of your garden. You don't have to whip out a compass or anything like that, even though that can be important. The more important thing is that you watch your sun, where it goes, what shade, what areas are shaded behind trees or behind buildings. Find that sunny location. If you have a yard that has partial shade, no worries, you can still grow lots of food. Like a lot of your leafy greens can grow in the shade. So no worries. Step 2 is determine the size of your garden. So like I said, I like to suggest my first time gardeners to start small. So in like a 4x4 garden bed, or a 6x2 garden bed. It has either 16 square feet of growing space, or the 6x2 has 12 square feet of growing space, which is a great place to start. Some want to just jump in there and have like 2 to 4 garden beds, and I say go after it, because all you're going to do is learn more faster. You're going to learn if something fails, you're going to learn why it fails, and then the next time you go through it, you're going to know exactly what to do. Rather, if you start small, you're only going to learn a little bit at a time, but it's less overwhelming. Step 3, decide what you want to grow. So for this, I tell my people, only grow when you're a beginner gardener what you eat. I have some people that are like, I want to grow kohlrabi. Do you know what kohlrabi is, first of all? Second of all, have you ever ate it? They're like, no, it's pretty. No, then don't grow it, because what's going to happen is you're going to lose motivation for something you don't eat often or that you don't like or you've never tried. But if it's something that you eat often, say like tomatoes, then grow tomatoes. So grow what you eat on a regular basis. Step 4 is to create a plan. So you have determined what size you want to grow, what size bed, you want to have, what you want to grow, and you found your location. Now you need to create a plan on if you're going to do a raised garden bed, how big is your garden bed, how tall, is your garden bed going to be, what days you're going to go and start all this stuff. You got to create a plan so then you're not just out here winging it. The last step is to install your garden. So now that you have your plan, you got to go purchase everything. If you're doing garden beds, go purchase your garden beds or the wood. You got to get your soil, your plant, your seeds, tools and materials to put all this into action. Right? So this may seem like a lot, and to some people it is, but I have good news for you because my company offers help in this area. And it's two main ways we do it. We have a garden guide that you can just go through yourself, or you can book a consultation. So the garden guide is a step-by-step guide to help you start with your garden. So in it, you get a digital copy of the workbook, and it's, I can't even remember how many pages it is, but it's really detailed so then you know what you want to do with it, with your garden, how to start, how to design it, how to choose what plants you want. All that stuff guides you in there, so you're not going to be confused. And then you also get a mini course. So you log into my website and you start the course, and your workbook goes along with the course. So you can look at the workbook, and the course describes everything. It leads you into it so you know exactly what to do. And then you get also extra resources to help you know how to take care of your plants. So you get a plant guide, and I have plants in there, what they need as far as food, watering, sun, what kind of bugs try to eat it, what to do about those bugs. It's got all that stuff in there, and plant disease. So that's the garden guide. And then, you can also opt to get the consultation. So what the consultation is I or one of my consultants will come to your house. We'll talk about what you want, what struggles you might be having, and then we go to walk your space to figure out where your garden will grow, or where we'll put your garden so you can grow your food. And then from there, what we do is we design your garden. So we create like a 3D garden design. This is an example of one of our smaller gardens that we created for a client. And those are 2 4x4 garden beds. Bugs are thieves. Yes. So we design it. We make sure we find the location. We try to get the style to match your house. Like this one is like really intensive to get you exactly what you want. After you receive the design, then we go ahead and install it. The beauty of the consult is after the consult and the design, you can choose to do a DIY kit, or we can come in and install everything for you. So we've got plenty of options, like no matter what your financial level is, our goal is just to get you gardening, period. So what I would want to do for everyone that's here today is to give you access to the garden guide, because I want you to get started. I want you to grow food. Like I think everybody should have a garden. Like everybody. I don't care if it's a little herb garden and a little tin can thing. Just grow something, because there's so much satisfaction in growing something, even if it's not from seed. Even if you go to Lowe's and you get your little plant and put it in the dirt and you watch it grow, it does something to you. I don't know what, but it does something. So to get access to the garden guide, send me an email to Natasha@31eden.com for access. And you'll get in there, you'll get, in the email, you'll get the workbook, and then you'll also get a login for the course. And then if you want to book a consult, I'll give you 20% off the consultation fee. And so again, or not again, the code is on there, March 22, and just visit the website 31eden.com/consult and put that code in and you'll get the 20% off. Okay. Do you guys have any questions?
So really good information. I appreciate it. I think one of my main concerns is going to be critters, because I don't do bugs in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not an outside girl. I have a vitamin D deficiency. I know I'm supposed to take my pill. I get it. So I'm just like, what do you say to someone with no green thumb? Like, I'll kill the fake plants. So how do I keep my vegetables alive?
So you are the person that I created this company for. So I love people like you who are like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna kill everything. There's no such thing as a black thumb. There's an uneducated thumb. So with knowledge comes power, as we know, and that is the same in gardening. So what will happen is we will talk about what you want, what your desires are. We'll create a plan and we'll execute that plan and get you growing and knowing what you're doing. So at the end of our time together, you're going to be a confident gardener.
Sounds good. I don't know if I feel quite capable, but I definitely feel motivated based on your words. So I will be emailing to get my guide. I appreciate that. That's a great offer.
You see, you could just start small because I already see that, the thought of having a full garden is a little overwhelming. But you start small and you're going to get those small wins and you're going to want more. So that's what we're going to do for you.
I'll focus on saving coin. That seems like the part that's drawing me in.
That is always good.
Well, I have a question. For a kitchen garden, what would be some things that I could grow in the kitchen?
So kitchen garden, let me just be clear because sometimes people get confused with it. A kitchen garden is outside.
Okay.
There we go.
I didn't know that.
Outside. So a kitchen garden is outside. We call it a kitchen garden is because it's an extension of your kitchen. Because like the point is, oh, I want to make this meal today. Let me go out to my garden to get the ingredients. So it's an extension of your kitchen. I use kitchen garden often, but because that's the response, I have been just changing it to edible garden. But the reason why it's called kitchen garden is not only because it's an extension of your garden, but because of all the elements. So we do, raised garden beds, trellises for the vining plants like beans and tomatoes that grow on the trellis. And then there's a walkway or walk path, and we lay rocks down. So that whole, that whole thing is considered a kitchen garden because it has all those elements.
Okay, well, I don't know if I can. I'm also like Tamra. I feel like I would kill all my stuff.
That's what I'm here for. So, oh, you just said something that made me think. I forgot what I was about to say.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. So yeah, I mean, I think for you guys, just start small, get the guide just to get a good understanding of what's involved in starting your garden. And you don't even have to start an in-ground garden. You can literally get a container and start container gardening. I had a whole deck of container gardening when I was moving. I didn't want to put anything in the ground knowing I had to move. And you can grow anything. I had a moringa tree, it's a tree from India that's super, super healthy, nutritional value-wise. And I grew that tree in a pot, in a grow bag. It wasn't even a real pot. So there's a lot of options. Like I would tell you guys just to start in a container, start small. What herbs do you like? Let's start with those, or if you like greens, if you like collards or turnip greens or kale, all those can grow in pots. So start with something that you really like, and then we'll expand from there.
Do we have any more questions for Natasha?
I have one. What do you do about the bigger critters? I have a lot of rabbits in my yard. What can I do with that to help with that?
So do you have a garden right now?
I don't. It's really delayed me from starting one because of that.
So I always suggest to build a garden bed, not at least, but for my clients, I usually do 2 feet tall unless they require something else. And then rabbits, they still jump, but they're less likely to jump that high. But still, we cover, you can do it a couple ways. You can cover your garden with garden mesh, and they don't like the feel on their paws. So as soon as they jump up there and they touch it, they're off immediately. The other option is we build garden bed covers that match the garden bed, and it has wire mesh. And so it's on a hinge for the people who want to leave it on there. So when they go to tend it, all they do is lift up the covering and tend their garden and then put it down when they leave. Or there's ones that can be completely removed and stored.
Okay.
So those are your few options.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question. Do you have any suggestions about I don't know what the bugs are called, but I had like tomatoes, thought I was doing something, and I was waiting for it to get even bigger, and then the bugs came. And so I was just curious. I know we were talking about not, putting chemicals and things of that nature on vegetables, but do you have or aware of any, I don't want to say protectant, but something specific to keep bugs away? And that way, that's not like a chemical that could harm us.
Yeah. So for most bug treatments, I use neem oil. So you get neem oil, you dilute it, you follow the instructions. It will tell you on every product, what is it called, brand, they have their instructions on how to dilute it. So you dilute it, put it in a spray bottle, you spray your tomatoes, spray your broccoli, your collards. You can also use castor soap. So like Dr. Bronner's, they are, depending on the bug you have. So Dr. Bronner's or any kind of Castile soap that has no fragrance, you put that in water and that helps with like aphids, which are the little tiny bugs that eat everything. They're annoying, but they don't like Castile soap. So the other thing that I do use is Diatomaceous Earth. It's a powder and it's non-toxic, but since it's a powder, you want to be careful that you don't breathe it in, because what it does for the bugs, it's like basically little shards of glass for them. So when they come across it, it cuts them up. So it's basically going to do that in your lungs too. So make sure you're not breathing that stuff in. But your main things are neem oil. Neem oil is great for lots of bugs. It's also great for powdery mildew, which can develop on the leaves of your plants. Like if you ever see anything white and powdery on your plants, is powdery mildew. That's from sitting water on the leaves. And neem oil is good for that too. So if you go and get the starter guide, there is a guide in there about pests, and the plant guide also in there tells you what your plants need, what bugs ails them, and then how to get rid of those bugs.
Okay, thank you. You said the last one was it Diatomaceous? I'm sorry, I was trying to write it down.
I'll type it in here.
Okay, thank you.
Can everybody hear me?
I think I spelled it right.
We can barely hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm still having mic issues, guys. But I just wanted to make a comment too. You were talking about, Natasha, you were talking about doing like herbs or just like small plants in your home. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was thinking about families that may be like in apartment buildings or places where they don't actually have a garden or a plot of land where they could start to garden. So have you worked with families like that, or do you have suggestions?
Yeah, so I've worked with a few people in apartments that had balconies. So the difference is, if your apartment or condo or whatever has good sunlight, you can grow some stuff in the window. But what's best is to put it on a porch or balcony or something like that, because we always want the natural sun. Another option is also to get a grow light, which are really inexpensive. They're at Walmart for like $20, and you can use that to grow your plants too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any more questions?
I did have another question for you, Natasha. You spoke a little bit about folks who have hypertension. Could you expound a little bit on, like, I understand the benefits, but is there like a specific starter you're thinking they should start with? So disclosure, I have no green thumb. I'm scared of critters. And I'm feeling a smidge motivated to maybe do my little plastic bin greenery outside. And my mother's extremely hypertensive. So I'm trying to think of like, what should I be I mean, I'm definitely going to email you for the starter guide, but what should I have her What should I be growing for her initially?
Okay, so that specifically, I do not know. I would have to look up what foods are good for that. What I was talking about is the actual activity of gardening that is beneficial.
So I need to make her grow the garden and I just supervise.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Like, Mom, I need you to grow this. It's going to help you.
Got it. I'm with that. Thank you.
Last call for questions. Okay. Any last comments, Natasha?
I don't. I enjoyed being here, though. And if you guys have any questions, just email me. For you guys, I will answer them. I will not charge you a consultation fee. Just send me your emails and, ask away. I am here for you.
Yes. I also put Natasha's email in the chat box and her website. I also dropped an evaluation link in there. If you could please do that. We love to know your feedback, what you thought, what we could do better, what else you want to hear. Thank you for joining us today. Next week's session is next Tuesday on the 8th. We'll have Candy Underwood from the Cooperative Extension. She'll be doing a demonstration and actually sharing a recipe with us. So if that is all and no more questions, I'll let you guys go.
Thanks so much. This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.